You went into the store just for bread. That was the whole trip, one loaf. You had it in your head before you even parked. Bread, that's it, in and out. 40 minutes later, you're standing at the checkout, holding a basket. There's a rotisserie chicken in there now, a candle, a bag of limes you have no plan for. Some crackers that were sitting near the cheese and felt correct at the time. And yes, somewhere at the bottom, the bread. The one thing you actually came for was the last thing you found. Because it was parked against the very back wall of the store. About as far from the front door as the building would physically allow. That layout is doing exactly what it was built to do. Think about where the essentials live in your grocery store: the bread, the milk, the eggs. The stuff nearly everyone comes in for, the non-negotiables. Now picture the front door. Notice how those two things are never close together. The items the most people need most often sit in the farthest, most awkward corners of the building. And the reason is almost insulting in how simple it is. To reach the thing you need, you have to walk past 1,000 things you don't. A grocery store is a route somebody drew on purpose. You don't really wander through it. You get walked through it. A researcher named Herb Sorensen spent years actually measuring this. Real shoppers, real carts, tiny tags quietly logging the exact path people took through real stores. What he found is that shoppers don't roam freely, they flow. Large parts of the store barely get visited, while a handful of routes carry nearly everyone. The floor works like a current. Once you're through the door, you're in it, and it carries you. Paco Underhill, who spent decades filming shoppers inside stores, mapped the little habits that current is built around. Those first few steps past the entrance are basically a dead zone. You're still switching over from parking lot brain to shopping brain. And you don't really register anything in that stretch, so stores don't waste good product there. Once you're properly inside, most people drift to the right. So the tempting stuff goes to the right. And the displays capping the ends of each aisle, the ones that look like deals. Those end caps are the most valuable ground in the building. A product sitting there often isn't discounted at all. It's just standing where the river bends. Even the shelves are ranked by height. Eye level costs the brands more and earns the store more. Eye level is buy level is a real phrase people in the business actually say. Look a bit lower and off to the side, and you'll usually find the same thing cheaper. In a plainer box, hoping you won't bend down. Now, in fairness, there's a dull reason the milk lives at the back too. It needs refrigeration, and the coolers sit near the loading docks where the trucks pull in. Some of this genuinely is just plumbing and delivery schedules. But the plumbing doesn't explain the part that actually costs you. Where the bread sits is almost beside the point. What's really being engineered is what happens to your decisions on the way there. Back in 1956, an architect named Victor Gruen built the first fully enclosed shopping mall out in Minnesota. He was picturing a warm, walkable town square. What he actually created turned into a whole science. And it picked up a name people still use today, the Gruen transfer. It's the precise moment a shopper, surrounded by a deliberately disorienting layout, forgets what they came in for and simply starts shopping, the list dissolves. The plan gets quietly painted over by the room. Gruen, by most accounts, came to hate what his invention became. It didn't matter. The effect was already out in the world. And that's the real move behind the bread at the back. Somewhere between the door and that far wall, your tidy little errand softens into a browse. The crackers happen, the candle happens. Studies of supermarket shoppers keep finding that a big share of what ends up in the cart was never planned before walking in. The choice gets made right there in the aisle, by a slightly different version of you that the aisle helped build. The store didn't sell you a loaf of bread, it sold you the walk to the loaf of bread. The bread was the bait at the end of the maze. The one thing they knew for certain would pull you across the entire floor. So next time a store feels weirdly, needlessly annoying to get around, understand that the friction is doing a job. The long detour, the milk marooned in the far corner, the aisle you have to double back through. Every bit of that inconvenience is quietly turning your footsteps into things you never came for. You can't undesign the store, but you can watch the current instead of just floating in it. A written list turns the browse back into an errand. Nearly all the real staples live around the perimeter, so you can hug the edge and skip the interior maze completely. And that unbeatable deal towering at the end of the aisle. Glance at the actual shelf price before you trust it. More often than not, it isn't cheaper. It's just parked exactly where you were always going to look. You went in for bread. You'll leave with a whole story about everything else. That was true before you parked, and it'll be true again next week. Because the loaf was never really the product. The distance to it was.